Part 3 of our transformations unit is rotation. So let's take a quick look at how to do a rotation. A rotation essentially is a spin. We have an object that we will spin around a central point or a point of rotation. We can typically rotate something in any amount of degree. Typically in this class we'll be looking at 90-degree rotations, 180 and 270 degrees. Just keep in mind that a full rotation is 360 degrees. If I rotate something 360 degrees, it puts you right back where you started. So we actually have a set of coordinate rules about rotating about the origin, which is typically what we do in this class. So if I have some coordinate point AB and I rotate it counterclockwise about the origin, remember counterclockwise goes this way, opposite of a clock. So if I rotated that point AB 90 degrees, what ends up happening is these coordinate points sort of switch places and the y coordinate becomes negative. So if I have this point right here and I rotate it 90 degrees, it kind of goes over to here. And you can actually kind of rotate your paper. The nice thing about your paper is, you have sort of a rectangular paper. You can rotate it 90 degrees, 180 degrees, 270 degrees. If I rotate a point 180 degrees, what that does to the point is it keeps A and B in the same spot, but just negates them. And then a 270 degree rotation changes A and B, but the A part becomes negative. So those are kind of our rules that we're going to follow as we do our rotations here. So now we're going to rotate these figures about the origin, and we're going to draw the image after the specified rotation. So we're going to rotate this image here 90 degrees. So 90 degrees counterclockwise is going to put this image down here. So I know that my final product should end up in this coordinate of the grid, or quadrant, I should say. So I think from this point it's kind of easier to look through the actual coordinate points. So point y here is at -1, 6. So a 90 degree rotation, what does that do? I switch A and B and I negate B. So A is -1, B is 6. So when I switch and sort of negate B, what that becomes is that becomes -6, -1. And so I'll go ahead and graph that. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, -1. So this is where y naught would occur. This point z, and you can kind of go in any order you want, z is at -4, 2. So -4, 2, when I put that through negative BA, that becomes -2, -4. So that goes here, so that would be z prime. And so I can connect y and z. And then sometimes what you can do, instead of like going through all the points, you can actually kind of then mimic what's happening in the original. So from z to y, I'm going left 2. Well, if I rotate that, that would be the same as going down 2. So then I can put w prime there, and then I can kind of do the same thing from y to x. I go sort of down 1 and left 1, 2, 3. And so what I would do there is instead I would go down 3, 1, 2, 3, and over 1. Now again, if that part didn't really make much sense to you, that's okay. You can keep looking at the coordinate points and just kind of putting them through that rotation. 180 degrees is going to flip it sort of over 2 coordinates, so I'm going to sort of end up in these 2 parts. So I'll just kind of write down the coordinate points here. So point W is at 1, -2. And if I do that 180 degrees, that just means negate A and B, so that becomes -1, 2. Remember, negate means do the opposite. Point Z, I guess I'll label these. Point Z is at -2, -1. So when I negate those, that becomes 2, +1. So that's where z prime will be. Point y is at -5, -2. When I negate that, that becomes 5, 2. And point X is at -3, -3. When I negate that, that becomes 3, 3. So now it's just a matter of plotting those points. So -1, 2, W prime, 2, 1 is Z prime, 5, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, that's Y prime, and X prime is at 3, 3. Again, just go ahead and connect the dots. And that is a 180-degree rotation. And the last thing we will do is go ahead and rotate our last figure here 270 degrees clockwise. So that means I'm kind of turning my paper 3 times. So I should end up with an image sort of over in this area here. Let me get rid of that. Okay. So let's look at point Y. I guess we can start wherever we want. Point Y is at the coordinate -2, 3. So when I rotate that 270, I switch the points and I negate A. So I switch them, that becomes 3, and I negate A, that becomes 2. Next point, we'll do W. W is at 5, 6. So when I switch and sort of negate A, that becomes 6, -5. That's where W is. Z is at 2, 2. So when I switch and negate that, that just becomes 2, -2. Right in my graph here. And then the last point that we didn't do here is X. X is at -3, 5. So when I switch and negate that, that becomes 5, 3. All right, so let's go ahead and plot those points. So 3, 2 is here, that's Y prime. 5, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, that's X prime. 6, -5. 5, that's W prime. And the last one's at 2, -2. That would be Z prime. Again, just go ahead and connect those. And there is our rotation of 270 degrees. So big thing to take away from rotations here is to kind of make sure you know these rules on how the coordinate points switch. Thanks for watching.